Good morning. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. It's just after 9 a.m. and we're continuing our focus on the FY27 budget. And this morning, we're delighted to have the Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living, aka DAIL, with us, and have a few folks here, including the Commissioner and friends. So if you would all introduce yourselves and take it away, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Bowen. I'm Commissioner of the Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living, DAIL, and to my left.
Deputy Commissioner Angela Smith-Jang.
And to my right.
Finance Director, Bill Kelly.
And also we have with us
Angela McMahon, the Director of the Adult Services Division.
Great. Welcome all of you.
Thank you. And Rebecca is going to share our document so that we can walk through together.
And we have an hour or so to go through.
So we're going to start with just a basic background and then highlight some of the departmental programs that are going that we want to highlight for you. Show you a couple of data graphs and then get to the numbers. So we're up here. Let's go to page 4. Page 4. Just as a reminder that DAIL has 5 divisions. It's the Adult Services Division, which is inclusive of older Vermonter focus, Division for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Developmental Disability Services Division, which includes the Office of the Public Guardian, Division of Licensing and Protection, which includes Serving and Certification and Adult Protective Services, and the Division for Vocational Rehabilitation, Doing Business as Higher Ability, which is inclusive of the EAP, Employee Assistance Program. So highlights for this year, and it's the Age Strong Vermont plan. So I don't want to make the assumption that everybody's familiar with the Age Strong Vermont plan, but I would like to invite you to review it if you haven't. It is one of the few states that has embarked on a multi-year, multi-sector plan to prepare for an aging demographic. And we are the second fastest growing state in the country. We have about 1/3 of our folks over 60. We're very cognizant that there is a big difference between what we need to plan for those between 60 and 69, 70, 79, 80, and 89. It's not a monolith. We are in year 2, and year 2 report will be released next month. So we encourage you to take a look at that. Conflict-free case management, developmental disabilities, inclusive of developmental disabilities payment reform, went live on October 1st, 2025. And we are in early implementation phase. That put us in compliance with CMS's requirements as and our corrective action plan, as well as the state auditor's findings. Developmental disabilities supported housing. So DAIL supported several housing initiatives, progress on the Act 186 initiatives, some new programs that stood up. Upper Valley Services opened a housing project in Randolph. There's Marsh House opening in Waterbury. There's Champlain Housing Trust work in collaboration with Howard Center in Burlington. Able House opened. Able House is Northwest Counseling and Support Services. That is particularly interesting because it's built for people with developmental disabilities who are also aging. And so that is kind of their forever home because it's built with the ability. So that was good, innovative planning. And NKHS Open Mountain View Home. So the Act 69 work group resulted in several a report, the roadmap for housing.
What Act 69?
That was Developmental Disabilities Housing Committee that came out of legislation last year. It was a very active, stakeholder involvement, including families, and several recommendations came out of that report and that we are also supporting, following up on. This is really to address the dearth of options in the developmental disability space for housing, the decrease in the number of shared living provider interest, and the number of options, looking at other practices, different types of group programs. And so right now there's a recommendation that came out to look at what regulations and licensing issues may be challenging, and that has been created as a subcommittee of the DS Standing Committee.
So, you mentioned that there are fewer shared living or opportunities. That's somebody, a family or a person or whatever, who takes in somebody in their house. And do you have a sense as to why? Is it, again, our aging population and there are a few people doing that, or what?
So a couple of things. So the SLP, or the shared living provider approach, was most close to all of what the residential sector for developmental disabilities was. It grew out of the closing of the Brandon School, and it was really folks who were working there to a good degree who brought people in at its closing. So that grew then, and there was a goodly amount of folks who were interested in doing that.
Right.
So there's a couple of reasons. One is, to your point, some of those folks themselves are retiring, right? There's less interest in younger folks right now, and some of them don't have the wherewithal. They don't necessarily own their own homes or have space to do it. So the number of people who are leaving that space exceeds the number of people who are entering that space. There's also, interest in a sector of the families and individuals served who are looking for some alternative options that might be better fits for some.
Right. I know personally of several people who have children who have developmental disabilities, and they're worried as they age who's going to take care of their children. That's, I'm sure, a common theme.
Yes, and so DDHI, for example, very present in this in the Act 69 committee, and very active in terms of bringing that to light, and also just the different approaches that are available. That was what the original planning grants that were given a couple of years ago were about. Develop different models and let's see, right. And so those are mostly all operational now, or soon to be.
Go ahead, Lynn. Yeah.
So can I just ask, is the shared living housing, is that like what we used to call group homes?
So this shared living provider is actually somebody's home, like a family home. So it's not considered a group home in the same way. A group home has more people that they're serving. So an SLP could have more than one person. It could have two people. Can it go up to three? No, it's the maximum is two. Yeah, but a group home can have 3 or 4. Once you get over 3, you're really looking at a different kind of model.
More than.
Buyer's license.
So more than 3 people in a home requires licensure. We have group homes that support up to 6 people in our system. More than 6 people requires permission from the department. We don't currently have group homes that support more than 6 people, although as we've been talking, there's interest in some of these more peer-based models that would be slightly larger, but also might just have sort of mixed housing, so be more general population and service supported housing as they get larger in size.
And we're working pretty closely with the ones that are actually in existence to, through the payment reform and conflict free, we're able to look at things in a different way related to some of what their challenges have been. So we're actively working on that with them right now.
And Tom has a question.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you put the link in and I'll be reading the report when I can, but can you just give me a quick summary? The report that was issued before that spurred on the pilot programs called for, based on the folks who were the advocates and everybody who was involved in that particular study, identified the number of needed units to be 600. And, you know, I always got a chuckle with the advocates because after we did the pilots, it was like, all right, 14 down, 586 to go. So what came out of Act 69? If you could just give me a quick thumbnail, because I will read the report of
Yeah, we're still,
how do we get to 600? Where will you put them? I'm sorry, I'm asking questions that could take an hour, but just give me a quick summary and then I'll reread the report.
Yeah. So really the recommendations from the Act 69 report are really about how to sort of get to that 600 or a little more than 600 as our population grows over the next 10 years. So it's through a variety of approaches, including voucher-based systems, actual like capital, infrastructure build, a lot of service supported housing is an approach that can support people of all need across sort of any sort of approach to it. So you can like Angela had really modest trees, I had really significant needs, we could live together in the same apartment, but then because the services that come in match our needs, it's not about building a specific group home that sort of blend people based on need-based supports and try to match at that same level so that we're really all getting the same level of nursing support or intensity of staff living. So really it is about sort of approaching it through a variety of different ways that allow people to live where they want and the community is integrated. Again, through a blend of things, but largely voucher systems and some development.
No, I appreciate the commitment to this population that they feel they've been relatively ignored for the last 30 plus years. And so, and knowing full well how difficult it is for the parents, especially aging parents. And this population is probably even more fluid than anybody else that we want to work with. And so, you know, I hope that you're I hope that this work is going to represent long-term commitments to this population. It's small, it can be ignored, but it's much appreciated that they've been front burnered for the last several years and that solutions are being contemplated.
yeah, thank you for that. If we imagine this vision actualizing 10 years from now, there would also be a lot more choice for people because one size just doesn't fit all.
Well, one more question on this and then we're gonna move on. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to, is there money in the budget that is appropriated to advance this particular goal?
Not at this time, right? This is not, it's very early planning. We're very early in our toes in the water for this. There is, if you read the report, there's some recommendations.
Right, no, I actually had read the report and that's all I needed to know. I was looking through your budget document and I wasn't sure that I could see it, so I just wanted to ask.
But just wanted to highlight the programs that we are already supporting, some of which are going to be coming online in 26, some of which came online in 25. So it's not that we stop. And I really want to give kudos and a shout out to the partnerships that have ensued to create these. It's quite a few that have come up and grown. And that was really public-private partnerships. There were private donors, there were land trusts, there were like, it was really, and the families, and they really took these planning grants, and that was the expectation. What's the process that can ensue that can result in actual builds? And it happened. So we do know that there is a way to do this and are still supporting that. Right now, we're pretty focused on some of the things that have to happen upfront, such as, are there regulatory barriers to accomplishing what they're looking to accomplish through this roadmap? So some of the folks who are currently like Riverflow and Yellow House, who are already looking to what a sustainable model for them is. And so we're working on that. That kind of has to be solved and resolved before you start, building. And then having our licensing folks work with this group through our standing committee to figure out what else might be needed, or is there a different type of regulation that's needed, or is what we have as our options doable for what they're proposing? So that has to happen first. Okay, let's continue. All right, so now let's go to, I just want to very quickly say on page 6, the direct care workforce work, incredibly important. We don't have enough direct care workers, and we are very actively working to encourage people to be coming into this work. We were chosen to participate in the National Direct Care Workforce Strategy Center that was last year, and again this year in the State Advancement Lab. This is really important because this is across the country for those who have been selected to really come up with best models. And we put some of those into place, including a Careers in Caring campaign, which had 120,000 visits to the Career and Campaign website, nearly 200 web outreach inquiries. And we, through some of the best practices that we learned, we released an RFP for a direct care worker registry, which helps connect independent direct care workers with people seeking, like families and others seeking direct care workers. And then we have been able to work on the LNAs through the monies that were appropriated from the legislature in the last 2 years to help with recruitment and training. And we're looking to continue that this year through some funding through the Rural Health Transformation Program. So I'm going to jump to page 7, where hireability, opioid recovery, employment. That pilot was just really successful. What this does is have people who are in recovery from opioid use disorder be connected with employment. Being in recovery helps people succeed in employment. Being employed helps people succeed in their recovery. So you'll see that in our budget, because that is being based on.
The one drawback to this room, sorry, is that people outside.
don't want to come in here.
Maybe we'll switch with a really bright light or something.
Shine, yeah. I can work on that.
Oh, there's all kinds of things you could do.
I'm sure it is, but
It's also Mental Health Advocacy Day. I don't know if a lot of people are in the room. Okay, so number 8, so on page 8, Mission Care at Bennington, just wanted to highlight that. Since they opened at the end of 2024, so last year, they brought in 60 new residents, and they're at 89% capacity. 29 of those people came from hospitals who were boarding in hospitals, 11 from out-of-state nursing homes that were coming back home. right? Because they had to be placed out as we didn't have civic
in
rent.
that space, yeah.
9 from community settings, 5 from correctional settings, 5 from motel, homeless GA, and 1 from a different in-state nursing home due to complexities. So that is like working,
Great,
filling up there.
yeah.
And then on page 9, the nursing facility stabilization and sustainability, which we're happy to talk about some more. It's the beginning process of what looks like will be a 10-year plan to address the instability and the need for sustainability in the nursing home system, the long-term care in general system, which is more than just nursing home. So we're beginning that process and started our stakeholder engagement. And we will be doing that throughout the next several months to bring their ideas and focus and attention. And there will be a finalized plan by the end of the year. We're looking at 5 major areas: capacity and infrastructure, workforce, financial stability, quality of care, and complex care.
Great, yes, and I know that we've given a lot of money to this on the EFRs, for financial relief over the last few years. It's coming down a little bit.
It did.
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's still absolutely an essential part of it. But if there is an EFR report, which hopefully, I don't know if you had a chance to read that because you have so much free time. But Diva did, and we had input into it, produce a report
Oh, great.
on extraordinary financial relief with several proposals embedded in there that could have an impact in stabilizing itself.
So we'll get a copy of that?
Yeah, well, that's available. We can,
It's there's a
we
link.
also linked it here just for convenience.
Report on nursing home EFR. There you go. Dave will be all over it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, so that has some interesting suggestions in terms of how to do rates maybe differently. One of the things that helped bring it down this past year was that the rate rebase this time, which is on for nursing on a 2-year cycle, for other things on a 4-year cycle, was closer to reality than it was before. So about 2/3 benefited from that. 2/3 of the nursing homes benefited from that. So it did come down some, but nowhere near. It's still the workforce as a significant driver. But there are some suggestions in there, such as aligning all of the rebases and maybe on a shorter time frame. So that could bring closer to reality funding,
Mhm.
which would have a stabilizing.
Right.
Anyway, I encourage you to read that. Okay, next is I'm going to go quickly now. The APS statute on page 10, just to let you know, because that is in this year's
I don't know what
Budget.
APS is.
so that's the Adult Protective Services. There was a federal regulation which required us to come into compliance. That was a few years ago with some new statutory requirements and new federal requirements. The federal regulation, as I said, we were kind of ahead of the curve here, so it wasn't that hard for us to meet the federal regulations, except in one area, and that was the caregiver neglect piece of it. And there were concerns in the provider and in other stakeholder network, really. And so we came together this year, had 14 different meetings, really working through what the challenges are. Because understanding that certainly Dale as a state entity care about all of the people, and we're not comfortable with the workforce feeling impacted by that, just as much as we're not okay with individuals being at risk. And so we did come together and get to some good compromises and come up with a proposal that keeps us compliant with the regulations, but gives some really Vermont flavor to it for us. to do this in a way that meets our needs. Okay, so I'm now going to go ahead and jump to page 17. So I can show you some result. And what's going to come up here is the Adult Services Division. So there are nearly 7,000 people who receive choices for care services across all settings, which is a 4% increase. 973 of those were moderate needs group, and over 6,000 were in the highest needs group. And then of the total in the highest needs group, 4,600 were in a home-based setting. That's the majority. I think that's important because as we talk so much about those who need nursing homes and we need to have capacity for them, we still have more than, or somewhere, it's not twice as many, but it's a significant many more that are being served in a home-based setting. 760 were in a residential care home or assisted living facility, and nearly 3,000 were in a skilled nursing facility. And then we have a graph that just kind of highlights that. So you can see the growth. The blue is 2025 and the green is 2024. So you can see where there was growth.
I would imagine, given the choice, most people would rather be at home.
You know, it actually depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends. And so the average age in nursing home, as we had talked about in BAA, is somewhere around 84. So it might, depending on where you are, what your complexities are, who is helping you, what's available. Because you might think that, but there are folks who are like, they need something else, they want something else, and they have to have that available.
Oh, absolutely.
Or they just reach a certain level where the home
It's too
care,
much to do at home.
yeah. So, right. And I mean, this is where things like respite care and caregiver support, money follows the person, which is incredibly important for bringing, funds like that into that kind of option. The residential care homes, the assisted living facilities, especially the ERCs where they can provide the kind of care that you can get in a nursing home.
Right.
But it's in a different setting.
And at less cost too.
Yeah,
Right.
but choice is also an important part here. So I think we make the assumption that people are not choosing nursing homes, but sometimes they
Well,
absolutely
I
do.
would guess that some people are, but by and large, I would guess that most people want to be at home if they could. But Dave, did you want to say something?
Yes, I think this work is extraordinary. I really do. We've made great things that are happening. When I think about choices for care, before it started, 90% of all of the state spending went towards institutional care and 10% was home care. That was many years ago, in the 80s. And now that's changed. So the majority of the people are being supported in home as opposed to nursing homes. But the dollars are not 50-50.
Right.
And it costs more in the nursing home.
Yeah, sure.
The concern I have, and this is probably just financial capacity, or lack of it. I don't think when I'm in the home and I can't get a caregiver, none of those home budgets would support a traveling nurse. Maybe they do if they manage it that way. But whereas in the nursing home,
Yeah.
many traveling nurses keep it propped up. I don't think when I'm struggling in the home care system, I can request extraordinary financial relief to prop things up and keep it going. And I wonder how many of the folks in the home care part of the choices for care, it might be appropriated, whatever, 50,000 a year, but they're only able to spend 35,000 because they can't get those direct support workers. And I don't know how to solve that. The pool maybe, they just aren't there to get, or we don't favor, that may be the wrong word. We don't favor that side of the system of care the way we do the nursing homes, which have licensure requirements and other things. And that just weighs heavily on me. And I think with the ERC or the residential care, we do not have EFR for residential care. I don't even think we have anything near, they don't even submit cost reports. I could be wrong on that now. They didn't used to.
Right?
And they may lack the financial capacity even to do that. But I worry about whether we're supporting the residential care homes sufficiently so that people don't have to go into the nursing home. And finally, one other point. We used to believe that if a nursing home is closing because consumers aren't going there, that's okay. That's the market speaking, and that's the choice of people to go elsewhere. But if they're closing because they can't staff sufficiently, that's different, and we need to step in.
Right.
Is what I think we're doing with the EFR.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many of the EFRs are because people aren't going there, or because it just they can't support
It could be.
traveling nurses.
Yeah, so the 5 areas that we talked about, the complexities and the workforce are like, but we have some things we want to say in response to that. Do you want to take that? Well, I just want to say that for extraordinary funding relief, there is provider stabilization grants. 4 of the residential care homes did apply and receive.
4 of them did?
Yes.
Good, yeah.
And just so that's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
want?
and we do a lot of individualized rates for individuals who live in the community. So we do take into consideration that if somebody has to pay a higher rate, or we work with individuals so that they have a choice between if an agency can't provide, they can go through self-direction. And so we do authorize above like the base authorization for those circumstances. We have special rates that are ERCs, so we do a lot of individualized looking at those care plans so people can get their needs met.
One other thing this year, so there is instability in, I mean, I know we've talked about this, but there's instability in the nursing home system and in the long-term care system too. We had some residential care homes closed this past year and some new ones open. We actually netted 25 beds. So, yes.
Increase in beds.
Yes, we netted. But this like flux is, or, that's some part of the instability. So we're constantly trying to get ahead of it. Nursing homes also, we currently have a nursing home that's closing, the Great Green Mountain. And we will net a loss in the system. And it's not as big a loss as it would have been if we hadn't expanded some beds in some places, but it is a loss. When we're talking about a stabilization and sustainability plan, we have to go forward. And we have to make sure, given that the complexities may not be something that's easy to manage at home, in the rural health transformation plan, the program, we are looking at increasing our ability to have ventilation in nursing home and also more dialysis in nursing homes. Those 2 pop to the top of the complexities and the needs that the providers requested. But there are a whole slew of complexities that come together. People are living longer. They have multiple physical health problems, mental health challenges. There's just a whole slew of things that we refer to as complexities. There are special rates, but we need to have capacity for the whole thing. To me, it's not either or. I look at what's on the screen and I'm pleased, just like David, that there's so many that are being served at home. But I also think about how many of those will at some point either choose or need to be in a nursing home, and we must be prepared. And they have to be welcoming places. I've been to almost all the nursing homes in the state. Some of them feel like a home. They're lovely. And people are happy there and the families are happy there. Others look like they they're old, and that means that they feel a little bit less like warm. Rarely do I find someone who says, I'm miserable here, but, they're talking to me. I do peel off from people there, but I do get a sense that for many of them, it feels like this is their community. So I just don't, I
It
think,
runs the gamut. I totally understand.
right, we can go to the next.
May I just quickly, just sort of, when a nursing home closes, do the dollars disappear? Or do they go elsewhere in the choices for care? Do you have the latitude to move them around in the choices for care budget?
So do you have an answer to that? Because they get paid based on the services, right?
Right.
Well, I'll speak to the dollars, someone else can speak to the, and the dollars don't go away, they go back into the system.
Okay.
We still have to care for the choices for care eligible individuals and someone else.
Yeah, well, the individuals, like what's happening at Green Mountain right now, are being
Absorbed elsewhere.
yes, assessed and absorbed elsewhere in the system. Did you want to say something about that?
No, I think that that's it, that the funding sort of goes with the person. That we care for them either in another facility or in the community.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next slide will be page 18. And this just goes back to wanting to highlight what you were saying. The blue is home and community-based services, and the orange is nursing home. So we can see that the home and community-based services are still outpacing nursing homes. So it's not an either or, it's definitely a both.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and get to page 26. There's lots of good stuff in here, but I highlight it. So,
Yep, oh, that's great. Yep.
That was. We have page 20. Okay, so this is looking at home and community based over time. This is longitudinal data, just looking at what happened from 2021 to 2024. And you can see that there was a drop in 22, which may have been coming back out of the pandemic, and people who were not going to nursing homes then did, but it grew right back and exceeded where we were in 21. So just so that we can see how the home and community-based services population is growing over time. Again, there were almost 3,400 people who were served in home and community-based services in 24. And it's a whole range of different types of services, from flexible family funding, family managed respite, the bridge program, guardianship services, and payee services, in addition to, your more traditional home and community-based services. Okay, so.
Good question, Jill. Thank you.
Yes.
Actually, just looking at the graphs, it's only about a 1% difference between the top and the bottom, so it looks pretty stable. The graphs, the way it's graphed, exaggerates the difference. So it doesn't look like that much, about 35 people different.
Just seeing that it's on the upswing was a trend that we were happy about, because people leave and people come in, which means that we have a pretty good flow of people coming in, but people are leaving at the same time. So that's why it stabilizes out a bit. Yeah. Okay, I'm on page 34 and just want to quickly show you the effectiveness of our employment efforts for blind and visually impaired. Just really want to highlight there that we are doing better than the nation as a whole. And you can see that 35 blind or visually impaired individuals closed their cases because they attained successful employment. 82% had a wage above 125% of the minimum wage. 58.5% employment rate for 4 quarters post exit. So what that means is that they're keeping the job for these federal guidelines, in terms of how many quarters.
So is that
Median
the minimum, is that the federal minimum wage or is that the state minimum wage? When you say the 125%
of state, that's compared to our.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Um,
Federal's a little, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the measures that are like, how, they hold the employment rate for quarters, post-exit, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And then you can see the bottom really is the measurable skill gains, that MSG rate. And if you go over to, state fiscal year 25, you see the 57.6, which basically is a measure of the skill gains compared to 52.2 for the nation. And if we go to page 46, you're going to see, again, through hireability, similar comparison to the nation where we are exceeding earnings and measurable skill gains compared to,
People go, I'm just seeing it now, 563 individuals closed their cases in fiscal year 25. And how long is a case? So, I mean, are some of those, it's been 2 or 3 years and the cases are closed, does it span fiscal years or is it within one fiscal?
well, I think it's variable. It might span fiscal years, yeah. And everybody needs something different, and sometimes there are fits and starts. But it can be also brief. I mean, the idea is that you're working on an end goal.
Yeah.
And they reach their end goal.
Yeah.
And they're successful in that employment.
Right. Right. I have met one person who went through this program, and I'm not from Chittenden County, but maybe that's where they got their training, because you said it's only in 2 counties right now. Or is it more now?
This is
Hireability?
hireability is, of course, the
Okay,
same.
I guess there was something I saw. Anyway.
You were thinking of the opioid response, which is now broader.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk to you about.
All right, well, I think we've maybe gone through that anyway. Thrilled with the program.
Yeah.
Absolutely thrilled with the program and is so happy to be working and has a great job. And it was just really nice to meet somebody who'd been through it. And,
Well, you know who else is thrilled with the program? The business community.
oh,
We
excellent.
get such great feedback from the business community saying this has really worked for them.
Uh-huh.
And we, Harbilly really works with the Department of Labor very closely. And they look at where there are holes, what are the needs of our business community? And we train folks so that they can even sometimes get credentials and then be able to meet that need.
Yeah.
We just have had such really positive feedback from the business community. So,
Oh, well,
so it's a win-win.
that is a win-win. Great.
So the reason the opioid recovery, which is just happens to be on the next page, but the opioid recovery pilot has expanded now to more than just the 2. I think we're at 5 different locations. And again, we did mention that before, but it is also a win-win. And now we can go to page 48 where we can give you a summary of our budget. So for
all these pretty standard, the increases for salary, et cetera, it's all, any new initiatives in here, maybe there's somewhere else you've got.
the additional opioid baseline, opioid response baseline is new. And that's the only initiative, right?
Yeah, no, it's standard.
Okay.
So, and also the breakdown is not like the percentage that by division is not significantly different.
Are there any programs as you went through deciding, and it was great to hear from the secretary about sort of how you all work together. As a result of those conversations, are there any programs that you're either changing or not continuing going forward?
There are some, not really changes to a program, but there was some efficiencies that we found that really don't have impact on individuals served or the providers, right? So there was, and we can go through that in the next, because you can see,
Okay.
let's just go to the next page, because some of the questions you're asking.
We on 49 now or 50?
Yeah, I think.
Page 50, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 49 where we have but
Oh,
this is the,
49 first, yeah.
this is the changes from last year to this year. So right, which is a little over $31 million. So these are the changes. I don't,
So, for example, I see that you're taking $1 million out of the adult day rehab services.
the adult day services, day health and rehab, that's what it's called. Again, no impact on providers or consumers. It's fewer people are utilizing this service, and that's now been a pattern for a bit of time. We are working to encourage more people to use that service. It is a really important part of the continuum, and it is active, and it is serving well.
Just not as many as we're budgeted for.
Not as many as pre-pandemic. So some people just didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Add something there. And the day health rehab services, adult day health
Yes.
rehab is a state Medicaid benefit. It's not choices for care. In choices for care, we're seeing a slow increase in use of
Yes.
adult day, but in the day health rehab setting,
Okay.
benefit, we're not.
Dave?
But I don't disagree that if people aren't using a service, shouldn't fund it, right? And that's what I think is happening here.
We're just pulling back money that wasn't being
It
utilized.
wasn't being used.
Right,
The program's not going away, it's just a smaller.
No, and if the utilization changes, then we would adjust that.
Okay, what I'm trying to discern, I don't know the order of magnitude, they're not, but is this a 5% overall reduction to their budgets? Is it a 20%? Because if I'm an adult day and I'm serving 20 people, I guess I wasn't getting the money anyways if they weren't coming in. So financially, I don't think there'll be an adverse impact. But if I was getting the money and now it's gone, will I be able to keep the lights on for the remaining 16? You know what I'm trying to articulate?
Yeah.
So I could give some context.
Thank you.
There's approximately 3.3 million appropriated for this program. In 23, 1 million was spent. In 24, 1.5 million. In 25, 1.8 million. So the increase is slowly increasing, but not near what's appropriated.
Okay.
This $1 million reduction still allows for additional increase in utilization. It wasn't money that the adult days were getting anyway because it wasn't being utilized.
Thank you. Thank you. That helps.
That's
Okay. So some of these other ones that you're seeing here in red are sort of technical. Maybe interdepartmental transfers or move from one fund to another. If you go to the next page. The ARIS payroll, which did come up, I think, yesterday.
Yes,
Yeah,
trying to figure out what that was.
it's basically payroll benefit withhold at ARIS, which was more than what they needed over time. And so we're pulling some portion of that, right? And then again, just a budget to actuals adjustment on the federal funds. So those are technical issues. You're going to see ARIS come up in a couple of different places just because it's the same issue. They just serve a different line. Yeah.
So are you worried about other federal funds impacts, losses at this point? We're feeling.
So I want to make a point that anywhere you see an adjustment to federal fund, it's not because at the federal source, the award went down. I'm adjusting the spending authority according to utilization that we need. That's all that is.
Yes, so I appreciate that, and I'm asking a different question.
Yeah, I got that question.
Yeah.
So we do have some concern, which but it's really just new information. that there might be a reduction to how much, there might be a reduction to how money follows the person, which is federal funds gets funded. But it's not clear yet exactly what that would be or what that impact would be. We're working with CMS on it. But for the most part, in our programs, we haven't had a significant negative impact. You'll see that in other departments.
We haven't had any.
We haven't had any. This is the first thing where we're like, wait a minute, and it's not like the program's going away. It's just the way in which they're talking about sort of reorganizing it might have an impact to us. It's not clear yet. But that was the first time we really had any, it's been really for us,
Okay. Okay, great.
but we're eyes wide open,
I'm sure you're
paying attention, you know.
I'm just trying to get the budget a little bit down this year total. What's the total? We don't have an ups and downs, so it's kind of.
There might be some.
Well, they're,
Right at the top of this section, there's a change from 06 to 07.
What page are you on?
49.
And so the budget's increasing over $31 million. Gross.
Yeah, that's the increase. The budget itself is
29.
829,747. That's the page before. If you go to 40,
Oh, yeah, so we can see it for each of them.
well, up at the top of the previous page.
Yeah.
Go to the previous page, up at the top,
On page 48 there.
page 48.
Yeah.
I don't know, keep going. There, it stops. That's the budget for fiscal year 27. It is higher.
I was looking at last year's budget and I didn't see never saw that big number, 829 million in that. I saw other parts. I was looking at 346, 858, which matches up good. So I see a lot of them stayed about the same.
Right.
Well, we have a $31 million, we have caseload and utilization pressures. We have
That's
nursing home.
everybody's
inflation,
major driver is the caseload and utilization.
right? And then nursing home pressures are part of that.
Right, I mean,
Inflation, statutory required.
Of the 829 or 830, how much of that is federal?
Okay, so the fund split, federal on that same page, 48. You can see the breakdown by division. Do you have a?
so I'll give you,
5%, it's 5%, okay.
so pure federal, not including Medicaid, of the 829, 54.2 million is federal funds.
But then there's global commitment, which we
Right,
have a match.
that's a gross number, right? So I'm looking, what is the Medicaid or the side of that? I'm trying to figure out how much of this is actually general fund. Of the 829,
So the general funds, okay.
So pure general fund,
yeah,
outside of global commitment, it's 39.1 million.
Which is 4.7%.
Then there's approximately, I don't know the match rate right up, approximately 43% of 730 million global commitment funds is general fund.
okay, in addition to, yeah.
All right.
So total general fund would be like 769 million.
Actually, the spreadsheet that, whether it was Tracy that handed out or Secretary Samuelson, has the gross and go by department. It's a great new spreadsheet that
Right.
was handed out.
Yep, we're in there.
So that's how I can get my answer. Yep.
Right.
Remember this that you got yesterday?
Yes, that includes everything.
Right.
Yep. You
That
just
is a
need,
nice summary.
you need eyes, so.
Well, actually, somebody gave me a bigger spreadsheet, so I
Yeah.
did a little bit better.
Listen, my spreadsheets are, I fell in love with 11 by 17.
Yes, they're wonderful things. Go ahead.
I just wonder, I can't remember, how your budget looked last year, but I mean, the EFR line item, does that only appear in the budget adjustment? And do you have any sense of what that is likely to be.
This year?
In FY twenty.
For 27, yeah. So it's been in the BAA because it's hard to know exactly what it's going to be, right? And it did go, our ask in BAA went down from 21, I think, last year to 14 in this BAA. So yes, making some progress, but we will again be faced with EFRs this year. Do you have a sense?
Yeah, when you've gone, say even since COVID, in 5 years, we've gone from 2 or 3 million to a height in 23 of 18 million. It's such a wide ranging number that with the report, with the EFRs and going forward, that we also hope would go back to, just a couple $1 million.
No, not this year.
It-
It wouldn't happen.
Well, she's talking
Yeah,
about
right, yeah.
27.
Yeah, right.
And, it'll take a while for that to go down, but we don't know in advance.
I understand that. I think that there are lots of unknowns and lots of budgets, and that line item, I mean, we just keep coming back to it. It's a standard part now of every budget adjustment, and I'm trying to work out in my own mind, is it better budgeting to have a line item there for that? I know it's hard to make the numbers work, but then we're faced with the challenge of trying to find that money in the following, mid-year and following year, which might be an even tighter year. So I'm raising it as a question, just as our committee.
Yeah, well, I would answer it from a language point of view. You just remember that Choice for Care has a reinvestment language to it. So with an item this big that fluctuates from year to year, and we hope will continue to decrease, there's language in there that anything unused ends up being part of a calculation for reinvestment. And we wouldn't want this large of an unobligated potentially number being calculated into a reinvestment dollar and not for the intended purpose of an EFR. So it gets complicated with the associated language governing Choice for Care.
That has been raised before, and after lots of conversation, it keeps going in. Yeah.
Dave?
It's probably here, I just can't see it though, but developmental services, can you tell me how much that's increasing? I see it's 367 million is the proposed, right?
Page down.
Page down, go down one,
Go down. Keep going down.
keep going down. Keep
Right
going,
there.
right here.
You can find it on page 50.
Okay,
8.1.
8.2, almost 8.2.
is that all case?
350 to 358.
That's right.
So it's about an $8 million increase.
And that's, you'll see that where it says total changes, mid-page of 50, that's for the developmental services section, B333.
And is that just caseload?
It's, if you go look here, the
Yes.
number one is caseload.
Yep.
So the first two line items, 1 and 2, DS caseload, and then the public safety specific caseload.
Okay, so there's no, of course, we all know the answer, but there's no wage increase for the caregivers. They're level funded. No COLA.
You talking about the providers or you talking about the caregivers? You talking about the caregivers? Okay.
Well, yes, the people who do provide the care in the field.
Right.
Some are direct service by the families and some are in the providers. Is there any increase for them?
No.
None, okay. Not for Choices for Care or developmental, okay,
Right.
thank you, yeah.
It's the statutory nursing home inflationary increase.
Great.
And is that our statute or federal statute?
Vermont,
Wow. Wayne,
So where will we find the bulk of the 31 million that's up?
Say that again?
31 million up, that's above last year's budget. What categories would the bulk of that be in? Is there any one single one that has the most
I think you would find, I'm sorry, adult services and DS
health services?
and developmental service.
Yeah, a very large,
Caseload and utilization
Right, of those
is the main,
portions.
yeah, so at the top of page 50, for example, the caseload for GDS
The choices of care is half of it.
is $10 million.
If you go to the bottom of page 50 for choices for care, you're gonna see about half of it there.
yeah, the Choice for Care program and the Developmental Services program together is 85-90% of our budget. So between Choice for Care and Developmental Services, there's, 22-23 million of the 31.
Right. Other questions? Is there more that you want to share with us at this point?
Well, I did want to bring you to the back,
Yeah,
if we can, go to the
appendix.
the performance measures. There were several things that were asked for this
Yeah.
year, but we did this even before we were asked. But we were really glad to be able to do that. We have this item by item. We have it lined up. So it would be something great if you have, again, I think you're gonna have to wait for the summer when you're laying on the beach, because this is such good reading. But we have program summary that gives you who we're serving, then the description of the program, the division, the performance measure, and then this year's proposed budget specific to each program.
And it's good to know the volumes, but it's also good to know about satisfaction, or that they feel like they've had a positive impact on their lives. So things are sometimes harder to measure, so.
Yeah, embedded in the document is also, we didn't go through every page of the document, but there are things that says, are we doing better? How are we doing? Like there's a section, right? And that helps to show you that, but everything is in this appendix that really goes through the program.
So where we have that available, we've included it in the summary, for example, SATch outcomes, home share outcomes.
Yeah.
Those types of things are all included in that.
Yeah. That's good. And some of these, I think, when you have numbers, it's good to know how many are served, but how are you defining success? And do you have a way to define success for some of these areas?
Yeah, it's different between output and outcome, and we
Yes,
recognize
yeah.
that. Wherever we have outcomes, we are reporting it, and if we don't, then we're trying to develop it.
Yeah.
And
Great.
some of that will come through some of the new initiatives from last year, like Conflict Free, the quality and data analyst
Yeah.
positions. There were 5 of them, and we're just about there with hiring those. I got nods over there. Yes. But that's going to help those sorts of approaches. Yes. And some of it we do have outcomes for, like when we look at the work that we do with in the GA program with homeless, we're looking very closely at outcomes like where do the people that are served through our programs that were experiencing homelessness, where did they go after we intervened? And so we do know how many went to another apartment, how many went to a nursing home, how many went to a residential care home, wherever they went, we are tracking that. So we are very interested in outcomes.
Yeah, great. John, your question?
Yeah, just real quick, was there, after getting all the data, tying that to performance here, any surprises for you?
I mean, nothing that's like blowing us away.
No.
Because, I mean,
And you kind of said what you're where you want to go here. For the
Well,
year.
yeah, I mean, where we set targets,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, so there's a lot of work still to be done to set like clear targets across the board. But I don't think there's any major surprises. We're very close to the ground, our folks. And so it's not really a surprise because we certainly know where the sticking points are. Right? So if we're seeing a problem, we're usually not surprised that that's there, or that there's a gap somewhere. So we
It's kind of
we
where
do-
you're going.
well, we have a strategic planning process that we do, so we look at this data very closely. In fact, we have a like developmental disabilities annual report to the legislature that is due in February. That's gonna have more data in it probably than we've had before, because we're really trying to look at what is happening in that space. But I wouldn't say that we're being blown away by the data, that it's showing us something really very significantly different than what we're seeing. At least not yet. Stay tuned.
So, we know that the one new initiative is expanding the opioid program. You're reducing utilization dollars for the adult day rehab, but that's available to come back if needed, if utilization
Hasn't been used in years.
Sorry, use that. Is there any one-time money that is in the budget, or is this just all your base budget, so nothing?
At one time, yeah. And this is the other sort of new, it's the APS statute that has to be finalized, right? The adult protective services caregiver, like,
Yes, and then you're continuing to work on, I guess, another initiative, but is working on the payment reform and the continued smooth rollout of the conflict-free case.
yes, this is implementation. This is implementation, right? It's a new initiative this year.
Right,
We're in
but it's a big deal.
Yes, implementation is big deal.
I might say rural health transformation, Dale will also play a role in that and be supporting some of the initiatives around long-term care.
Yes, there are some things that are embedded. We also will be working with the GA system. So there will be some that come under us
Okay,
that may go through DCF and then come to us, but it's around medically vulnerable, many of whom are older Vermonters, and our approaches there to standing up medically vulnerable shelters specific to the needs of that population. I mean, so there's that, although it's not coming directly into our budget. And then the rural health transformation, there are 2 programs there that we will be supporting,
okay,
steering. One is around dialysis events that I had spoken about. The other is about training, especially around LNA.
so, and you're feeling comfortable that you can handle all that within your current budget or your current staff or whatever you're gonna get from this? I mean, because I know that we're gonna have to spend all that 195 million by September of 2027, so that's not a very long time to get all the money out.
Intensive.
Yeah.
Intensive, I mentioned intensive effort, but worth it.
I just have one slight correction here. The opioid, as you know, we've had funding for that
Right,
previous years, so it's not really a new initiative, it's a continue.
okay,
And what's new is it's now being base budgeted.
It was
Just a slight
opioid,
correction.
it was
there.
opioid settlement dollars,
Okay.
and now it's coming into the budget.
The base.
Yes, uh-huh.
But this is the 27 budget, so we're continuing that 5. You
Yeah.
know, it's already at that level, so.
okay.
Right. So we're good with that.
Any other questions from anybody?
After an hour, I figured things out. I'm used to looking at ups and downs. of
I know, we're
budgets, right?
all getting used to having
So
different
now I
conversations.
figured out how it works down this way.
Okay.
I'm not used to that format.
We'll all be flexible.
Figure it out.
Tip.
I'm wondering, so there's a built-in, annual adjustment for, nursing homes. Is there, and David asked about, caregivers, and I'm just wondering, are there any, do you give annual adjustments to any of the contracts? I'm just looking right now at the screen, legal aid. At that 700K, my sense is that is the same, it's level funded. That contract with the ombudsman is level funded. And are there, I guess I'm wondering, are there any other providers that are either just in the system or under contract that have gotten an increase to reflect inflation and et cetera?
We're in negotiation right now.
The CBA.
Yeah, it's the CBA, we're in negotiation with them right now. CBA, which is their independent,
Independent direct support worker.
yeah. So we manage sort of that contract with the independent support workers. And so we are in negotiations with their
But in general, the budgets have not included rate increases for home and community-based services, caregivers. Some of these others, we just have not picked up.
Which makes employment in those fields really difficult, right? And it runs counter to, the goals that you stated early on for workforce development.
I mean, rates get adjusted as appropriate and now we have standardized rates in some of our programs. So there's an administrative pieces of that. Yeah. But to your answer, no, it's not built in like with the nursing home, which is by statute. Yeah, that's by statute. Yeah.
Anything else by anybody?
I just wanted to, on the org chart, I'm not supposed to mention names probably, but a remarkable person heads up the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and I think she's been there a while.
Diane? Yes, Diane is amazing.
50 plus years. Yeah.
50 years.
She's still.
And she's only 62.
And she started on a summer youth program.
It's just like, yeah.
And just an extraordinary state employee who's solid.
A shout out. I mean, hireability is more than I think people really understand that it is. That's why I like to talk like the opioid employment program, the employee assistance program. I mean, it is really quite an entity that has such an impact. The work that they do includes transition for students coming out of school with a whole range of disabilities. They focus not just on job opportunities, but career opportunities for folks with disabilities. They are world-class, absolutely, and recognize this. Yeah, and she is an extraordinary leader.
You tell her I said hello.
I sure will.
Yeah.
She's now got this, hey, like the world now, some people say, oh, when I grow up, I want to be Diane.
I don't know. I'll be there for
What a nice thing to say, yeah.
She's still enjoying herself.
That's,
She loves the work and she's great.
that's great, that's great. Well, thank you all for coming in, thank you all for your support of the programs and for all the good work you do for Vermonters, so we appreciate it. And Dave is your contact, if there are questions, you will hear from him and we'll funnel our questions to Dave. So committee, this is an opportunity, we're gonna be back here at 1:00 with ADS. But we want to, this is also some time to work on your budgets, sort of get familiar now that we're through budget adjustment, figure out what your budgets are and who we need to talk to. Check the agendas of the committees, whose portfolio you have, and if they're taking somebody in that you want to hear, just let me know and go off and go do that, because they're asking. Yes.
So I did get a request from Chair Durfee to have a budget review. It's just not on there, so.
Great.
I'm gonna go up there at with being heard at 1:00. It's in my portfolio.
Right.
So I can go up that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's great.
the one you always have questions.
Yes, so
But I would prefer that the people who have that in their portfolio ask the questions.
she will. So please go ahead and do that. And I think a lot of us are being asked to go into committees now. Sorry about that. All right, so it's kind of loud in here now. It's a little loud. To go off.